You're watching HuffPost Live. I'm Ricky Camilleri. On Tuesday, I hosted a discussion about Gamergate, and things got heated, to say the least. Many viewers chimed in, both in our HuffPost Live comment section as well as on Twitter, where they continued to chime in all night and into the morning, and I responded to some of you. Hey, guys. One particular voice may have been left out of the debate here on the HuffPost Live set, though, and that's female gamers who support Gamergate. Joining me now to offer their take on the conversation, we have Georgina Young, a staff writer at Gamesided, gamer Gemma Morgan, and Jenny Barrage, who hosts her own YouTube about the video game industry. Guys, thanks so much for being here. Hello.
Hiya. Hello.
So Jenny, you were live tweeting during the segment yesterday. Here is one thing that you said about the segment. That was a horrible Gamergate. Isn't about misogyny, 8chan, or neutrality. I should have been in this debate. I'm pissed off. So now you're joining us now, and we want to hear your side. What is Gamergate, and how do you think people are misunderstanding it?
Before I get into that, I apologize for my passion. I do tend to tweet a lot when I'm very passionate about things I feel that is important. So when it does come to Gamergate, I have been noticing that it has been heavily misunderstood as a social revolt against women and minorities. And that is essentially not the case. If it was the case, I wouldn't be sitting here in front of you right now, nor my colleagues Georgina or Gemma. So Gamergate is essentially a consumer response against corrupt journalism in the gaming industry. Mm-hmm. And we've been having suspicions of these collusions for several years, and I think due to the catalyst that happened in August 2014 revolving a sex scandal, we've essentially been tipped over the edge, so to speak, and we have now created the Gamergate hashtag.
Mm-hmm. How often, I have to ask you, Jenny, how often does this ethical journalistic problem that you have tend to fall into when gamer websites, when journalists for gamer websites end up sort of talking about women and minorities in the gaming industry? It seems to me that gamers get really upset by the inclusion of these narratives inside of talking about games, rather than just talking about the gaming experience itself. Or is that just a fringe minority of the Gamergate group?
I don't really understand your question. Are you asking whether we're angry that there's more of a gender issue when it comes to games?
Yeah, it seems to me that some people in the Gamergate community seem to get upset and wrap themselves up in this conversation, not because of a sort of corruption problem, but because a lot of gaming sites now talk about feminism, now talk about minority inclusion, and they seem to say, we want our game conversations, our gaming sites to talk about games and the experience of playing these games, not about a minority opinion or including minorities.
Exactly, and it does anger us only because this isn't really an issue to begin with. I mean, we have so many prominent female figures in the gaming industry. We have Jane McGonigal, we have Robin Hunicke, creator of the MDA framework. We have Jade Raymond, and if we're talking about game devs, we've had amazing games created by female developers. For example, Uncharted, we have King's Quest, we have Legacy of Kain. These issues revolving around feminism and gaming, it's irrelevant. It shouldn't be an issue.
Well, I think people should have the right to talk about it via gaming websites. Georgina, do you think Gamergate started off about journalistic ethics and has now been, the conversation has been co-opted?
Well, what I would say is that I don't think the conversation has been co-opted. The thing is that even now there is a lot of sort of, in the media, it's very one-sided in that when you're looking at the articles that are in the media at the moment, they're all Gamergate is this angry white neckbeard cisgendered male living in his mum's basement covered in zits or whatever. And this is what, there was 11 articles posted on the same day, on August 28th, which all said this thing, and they said that gamers are misogynist, that angry, and these are who these people are. But it simply wasn't true. It wasn't true at all. And that's why things came up like Not Your Shield and things like that, because the gaming industry was writing that simply that, people like us, women, minorities, don't exist within the gaming industry, and they were acting like they were protecting us, when actually it was all, sort of this cover. And the people of Gamergate who, genuinely want to talk about this, like, controversy in journalism where, things are being covered up. For example, you hear all about the harassment of several prominent figures who are against Gamergate, but you don't hear about the daily harassment of people that are pro-Gamergate. For example, Boogie is a really classic one. His wife was sent a death threat and was doxxed recently. And Gigi Feminist, before that, she was also doxxed, and she's just a Twitterer. And I think that a lot of these stories aren't covered, and that's what's upsetting people. And really, what Gamergate, the vast majority of what Gamergate is speaking about, if you actually talk to the people and read the threads and read their perspective, the vast majority of people are talking about journalism. But the narrative was always taken away to the fact that they're saying they don't want women in video games, or they don't want minorities in video games, and we just want to talk about video games. But it's not the case at all. We're all fighting for the same thing. We're fighting for better games. And the fact is that we're not given that chance to say it, because everyone's saying that, all Gamergaters are misogynists and they don't want this, and they're this angry nerd.
I want to ask the three of you one quick question right here now that we have you here, because we have three women who play video games, who support Gamergate. I want to say, do you support equality for women in the gaming industry, and do you think it's an important conversation to have? Gemma?
Yes.
Yeah, obviously.
No, just a quick answer, because I want to get the three of you to say this out loud. Gemma, do you support equality for women in the gaming industry, and do you think it's an important conversation to have, and that the anti-Gamergaters and pro-Gamergaters can really come together on this one issue that they really both seem to support?
Well, do you know what? I'd like to just point out one thing with this whole thing. Why do you think the opposition keeps using the word misogynist? Think about the word
Gemma, I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm going to get to you specifically on this in 1 second. I just want to see if there is a common ground between the anti and the pro on this one particular issue. It seems like there is.
But that's the problem. You keep moving this goalpost to say it's about women, and this has nothing to do with women. It is about journalistic integrity, and this is what's important. Women are not important in this conversation about ethics. It's like saying, do you think Black people should be allowed to work in the industry? Of course, Black people. Anybody, if you are willing to work hard to make a good game that people enjoy, it doesn't matter what your sex is, what you identify as, all that matters is your game. And like I said, think of it like this. This word misogyny keeps coming up. Why do you think the word misogyny keeps coming up? Because it's an easy way to deflect any and all criticism from the real issue. And this is what we have a problem with.
What's the real issue?
It's
guys, stop interrupting. I'm asking Gemma a simple question. We're not going to be able to have a real conversation. We're not going to be able to get any points across if everybody interrupts each other and doesn't answer the questions that are on point. Gemma, what is the real issue? I'm sorry for getting upset, but I don't want people interrupting. Gemma.
The real issue is that we have a terrible problem with nepotism, with cronyism. The general ethics, we have tenant and landlord, game devs and games journalists, and then writing positive reviews and leading people to come and buy their games. You can't tell me this isn't a major issue. And the inclusion, we just recently had a game released that got glowing reviews from every single games website. But one website that happens to be involved in this collusion docked points because they deemed it incredibly sexist. Now, this kind of thing shouldn't be in an objective review. If you want to talk about feminism in gaming, do it on another platform. But if you're going to give a review of a game, you need to be objective. Your personal ideology is not here. We don't want to know what your personal ideology is. We just want to know if the game is good. That's all we want to know.
But
we don't need the inclusion of an ideology.
But to push back a little bit, I'm a film buff. I read movie reviews all the time. The majority of movie reviews that I read come to it with academic, intellectual lenses in the approach to their reviews, be it feminist, be it Marxist, be it any other kind of academic lens that the reviewer has hopefully been educated on, they bring to their experience in watching that movie. Why is it not important for a reviewer of a video game? Why should video games be excluded from any other kind of academic lens when approaching a review?
I will give you a perfect example of a fantastic critic, and it's Jenny right here. Her videos have a fantastic critique of video games, but she isn't coming from it in an ideology. She's coming with it with a fair and balanced view. Now, the problem with injecting feminism into gaming is that it's a strong ideology that's already got a predetermined conclusion that women are oppressed, that there is such a thing as the patriarchy. Now, you know, there's nothing wrong with people being critical of video games, but a lot of these prominent figures are not included, you know, are not willing to discuss their glaring, you know, conclusions. You know, there is clearly wrong, you know, wrong conclusions on some of these things. It's an issue, and I don't think someone's personal ideology should come into gaming journalism. I don't think that people should be giving, you know, positive press to who they're sleeping with, who they have a relationship with, a friendship with. I don't think they should be donating to their Patreon for just existing. This is a problem. And this is what keeps getting forgotten in the conversation, is that it isn't about misogyny. Gamers do not hate women.